That's what makes me wonder if Conor could ever make like a successful comeback level.
He certainly could. The reason why Floyd Mayweather was still elite, even at the top of his game, I don't think you ever forget where you came from.
Okay.
Some people do. Some people definitely get soft. You know, that was the Marvin Hagler quote. He would say how difficult it is to run in the cold when you're waking up in silk sheets. But Hagler took steps to mitigate that. Hagler used to train out of Provincetown, which was on the Cape. So he would go out to the Cape Cod in the middle of the winter and run with combat boots in the fucking sand. Like, he separated from his family. He would go into like this fucking Spartan training camp. That was his way of staying hard. I think Conor could still do it.
Like, I guess he's one of the premier shit talkers, but it's wild how aggressive he is with it still, even though he's kind of like in this losing streak position.
Yeah, it is weird. Like, his last big win was Donald Cerrone, which was a significant win, but then, you know, I wonder, you know, it could be just inactivity too. The inactivity is probably one of the bigger factors in his demise. Yeah. Maybe even more so than just the silk sheets. You know, like he said that after the Dustin Poirier fight. When Dustin Poirier knocked him out, he's like, I just feel like inactivity is a real problem. I just need to get back in here and be active. Because there's a lot going on in a fight, and if you're not accustomed to fighting at a high level, the stress of that moment is so overwhelming. Very, very difficult for guys to just take years off and jump back in and be at 100%.
Yeah, like even the guys who are on a hot streak like Costa and just melting under pressure, definitely seems like even at the highest level with the most confident of individuals, they might just crack under the pressure.
He's a funny guy. Like, he's leaning into this whole secret juice thing.
Yeah.
Do you think that he's on something, or do you think he's just like a very extraordinary genetics?
I did a whole deep dive video on what I think he could be doing, and I think for any individual that doesn't pass the eye test, he would definitely be one of those individuals, but I wouldn't boil it down to that. He could be a hyper outlier individual for sure. And I wouldn't want to ever say like a definitive statement. I think it's highly probable that he's done certain things for sure.
Yeah.
Like even when he went into the Ultimate Fighter, he like went in as a self-proclaimed bodybuilder from Brazil, and his physique very much represented what you would expect. Obviously he was like more of a newbie back then, but even outside of myself, like highly respected individuals like Firas Zahabi also believes he's on gear or has done certain things. You can never say for certain if they're passing tests, obviously.
The real question for me with Conor is what's going on with his leg.
Yeah, he has like a titanium fucking plate in it now? Or?
Yeah, his leg snapped in half. And no one, and I mean no one, in combat sports has had their leg snap in half and come back and been the same or better.
Yeah.
Anderson Silva's leg was fucked. Corey Hill was the first guy in the UFC that I saw get his leg snapped, and he never really was the same again. I don't even know if he fought again. And then Corey died young, unfortunately. And then the next one was Anderson, and the next one was Chris Weidman. Anderson did fight again, but he was never the same again. And Chris Weidman has yet to fight. Has Chris Weidman spoke publicly about his leg and the recovery? Because Conor actually brought it up when someone was asking him about USADA.
Yeah, he was like, it almost seemed like he was justifying drug use at some point. It was kind of wild.
It seemed exactly like
he was like, you don't know, like, this is like, I took myself out of the pool, everything's on board, and it was like very suggestive of this was within the rules and I had to do it, and fuck you if you don't like agree with my decision, sort of thing.
Not only that, he's taking his shirt off and posing constantly, and he looks like his piss would melt that USADA cup. Like it would just like burn a hole right through the bottom of that USADA cup.
Yeah, even if your leg was to have like the structural integrity to sustain an actual fight, like what is the implications of walking around with like a plate in it? Is that unfair? Obviously his priority would be like injury proofing himself, getting back in there, and like he very much wants to get back and run for sure.
So we were just talking about Conor McGregor's injury. The weird thing is that there's a loophole in USADA that allows you to get out of the testing pool. You can just juice up.
Yeah, most of the guys weren't even aware, apparently. Anthony Smith, who does the show with Bisping, he was like, I didn't even know you could fucking do that.
Seems weird. And you just need 6 months. Like, if someone had an injury, though, that's a very wise way to approach it, right? Like, what potentially would be good things that you would take if you had a broken bone and you wanted it to heal quicker?
HGH, peptides, androgens are very restorative. Like, they'll reinforce bone mineral density. Like, there's certain stuff that's going to stay in his system for a long time he could never use, but anything that is pro, like, bone integrity, I would be highly incentivized if I was him and I knew I wasn't being tested.
Yes.
So I'd be pushing that vector hard.
Yeah, if you took time off, it's like if it was you and you were a UFC fighter and you broke your leg and you found out about this, you saw a loophole, so you would take peptides, you would take growth. What are the things that you were saying that you wouldn't take because they would stay in your system for too long?
Like, I don't know, DECA.
How long does that stuff stay in your system?
Oh, DECA can be like a year.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow.
It's fucking nuts.
So him taking testosterone, but wouldn't that fuck with his endogenous production of testosterone then when he gets off of it?
Yeah, he could. I imagine his main priority is injury-proofing himself more so than getting, like, juicy as fuck.
Right. Well, also just recovering. You know, when your bones get snapped and it's a weight-bearing bone. He says, I crushed the metatarsal bone in my foot 3 weeks before the Khabib fight and still made the walk. All injuries are not the same. You will see it all on Netflix. Oh, so he's doing a Netflix documentary? When a serious injury with a high percentage of never recovering occurs, it is just simply not the same. Yeah, well, there is a high percentage of never truly recovering.
I imagine it's very much from the acceleration of recovery and then also just trying to make sure this shit never happens again. And he's actually confident going into the ring. For him, it's kind of a unique loophole for sure. If anyone else has vetted this strategy and, like, somehow they were encouraged not to or made it seem like it was not allowed, but it seems kind of odd that he was able to take himself out so perfectly and then is able to just enter back in. This is not something that I think even other UFC fighters were aware of as, like, a possible...
Right. And looks massive. I mean, he looks well over 200 pounds right now. When a guy breaks a leg like that, how long is it before that thing is 100%?
I wouldn't know personally off the top of my head, but it seemed like there were certain individuals. I forget what Anthony Smith's injury was, but it was not as severe. And there was other individuals who had significant bone-related injuries that took way fucking longer to come back.
Anthony thought his leg was broken, but it turned out it wasn't. He said, just fucking shit luck. And so it is a leg break. I felt like he thought it was broken, but then Dana White said it wasn't. Dana White admits error. Oh, so Dana had said that it wasn't broken, but it in fact was broken. I get it. Yeah, so he had to get his ankle repaired, which is bad, but not as bad. You know, it wasn't as significant as Connor's, where you snap both the tibia and the fibula. Yeah. Both of them, it was dangling there, and then you have to reestablish blood flow. Everything has to heal back up. I mean, he went into that fight with a fractured leg. Yeah. Like, he had a stress fracture that was already there. Like, they were looking at it. And then also, you're fucking kicking knees and elbows and shit. And, I mean, how confident is he going to be throwing that leg? I didn't know how... I wounn't say there's a lack of comprehension in the USADA test, but not bulletproof.
Yeah, not that they're not trying, but it is budget restricted, so you can only do so much testing on every fighter. A lot of finicky shit sometimes goes into when they're testing out of the country, you know, politics, corruption, etc.
Yes.
Sometimes their choice of who's being tested, though, is definitely a little bit iffy. Like, I think it was a Jiri.
Jiri Pro.
Yeah, he was tested like
51 times.
Yeah, and then if you looked at like a Dillashaw, he was tested like 9 times or something, which is just like, why? Yeah.
Right.
You know?
As he tested less.
Yeah, like some of the most premier suspect guys were tested like single-digit times, and this other guy somehow has half of USADA's fucking budget allocated to him. I get that he was new in the actual sport.
Well, he was not new in MMA.
New to the UFC, right?
Yeah.
So the idea that some people have put out is they needed to establish more of a comprehensive passport on him quicker so that he had more elaborate testing off the jump.
Look at that, though. That's so nuts.
Yeah, it was a really...
He's so much more tested than anyone else.
Yeah, it was like a wild disparity.
Wild. Rose Namajunas got tested more than Paulo Costa. That's crazy. Neil Magny got tested more than Paulo Costa. That is nuts.
Connor, this was the longest fight of your career. Longest.
That whiskey tastes so good. Oh, shit. Notorious Irish whiskey. Coming soon. I don't think I stop for half a second. I'm going to take over the Irish whiskey market. And this is delicious, so keep an eye out for it.
People are just too quick to say, oh, Connor's picking what he wants, Connor's doing what he wants.
I am picking what I want, and I am doing what I want. When you can rack up $400 million in revenue for the company, in back-to-back events, you can do whatever the fuck you want. I'm living the whatever the fuck I want life. That's the life I live. Whatever I want, whenever I want. And I have earned that through hard work, through sacrifice, and that's it, through victory. There's pussies everywhere in this game, and that's it. I don't know. I'm here to fight. I'm here to win every belt, and then I'm gone. And then I'll see the game later. I'll walk away from this game. I'll set it ablaze and walk away. And that's it, so.
25 million in the bank, 2 gold belts, and a jiu-jitsu black belt. 3 years ago, you said that's what you want to finish on. I think you've passed 2 of them pretty quickly.
Yeah. I remember saying that, yeah. And I'm still here.